The lights are blazing in Vegas, the rookies are hungry, and the bets are about to fly. Welcome to NBA Summer League, where legends are born and your DFS lineups either cash big or crash hard. You're watching Beyond the Box Score, the only place where stats, strategy, and sweat all come together for your daily edge. Let's break down July 14's matchups, and trust me, there are some absolute hammers hiding in plain sight. Game 1 of the July 14th NBA Summer League slate puts the Atlanta Hawks up against the Houston Rockets in a high-energy matchup that could set the DFS tone for the day. These are two teams with plenty of young, raw talent, and both squads have shown they're willing to tighten the rotation for developmental purposes. From a DFS standpoint, this is a goldmine: fast pace, high-usage guards, bigs with rebound upside, and more than a few undervalued pieces on the DraftKings board. If you're building early lineups, this game deserves a serious look as a foundational core for both cash builds and tournament pivots. Let's start with the Houston Rockets. It's becoming increasingly clear that Amen Thompson is sitting out the rest of Summer League, and with Cam Whitmore now looking more like a veteran presence, the real value is starting to emerge around players like Trevor Hudgens and Matthew Mayer. Hudgens comes into this one priced around $6,400, and while he doesn't have elite usage, he's quietly putting together one of the more reliable DFS floors of anyone in the early window. He's a high IQ lead guard with a decent assist rate, low turnover numbers, and the ability to score in bunches if the game tilts his way. He's playing around 26 to 28 minutes, which is valuable in Summer League, where many rotations are still fluid. Matthew Mayer is where things get more interesting. At just $5,800, he's a GPP darling. His ability to stretch the floor as a 6 feet 9 inches forward with deep shooting range gives him a unique ceiling. The Hawks' second unit has struggled to guard stretch bigs, and Mayer's one of those guys who could drop 4 to 5 threes without warning. He also rebounds well for his position, and if Houston decides to rest any veterans or scale back minutes late, Mayer could end up being a steal at his price. There's definitely a world where he hits 30-plus DraftKings points, and in GPPs, that's slate-shifting upside. Houston's frontcourt is also worth a DFS look. Jermaine Samuels Jr. might not be a household name, but his hustle stats matter in Summer League. At $5,100, he's playing with motor and grabbing offensive boards in volume. He's also been picking up steals and weak side blocks. While he's not a high-usage scorer, he doesn't need to be. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block puts him in the 25 to 30 DK point range, and he's not going to carry more than 10% ownership in most contests. He's a sneaky value play that lets you fit in some higher-priced guards later in the slate. Now let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. This team is led by second-year guard Kobe Buffkin, and if you've been watching his progression, you know he's starting to look like a breakout DFS play. Buffkin comes in with a price tag in the $7,200 range, which is steep, but he's earning it. He's commanding the offense, scoring at all 3 levels, and racking up assists. The key here is usage. He's touching the ball nearly every possession and has been given a green light to create in isolation. Add in the fact that Houston plays an up-tempo style, and Buffkin could easily pop for a 35-plus DK point game. He's viable in all formats and should be considered one of the safest studs on the board. Another standout for the Hawks is rookie big man Mo Gay. At $5,500, he's got shot blocking upside that gives him a real ceiling. He's active in the paint, chases rebounds out of his area, and has a nose for putbacks. His foul trouble is a concern, especially against aggressive slashers like Hudgens, but if he can stay on the floor for 22-plus minutes, he's a candidate for a 5x return or better. He's especially viable in GPPs where you want to differentiate from the heavy Buffkin ownership up top. The wild card here is Seth Lundy. He's a pure scorer, and when his shot is falling, he can light up the scoreboard in a hurry. At $4,900, he's strictly a tournament play, but he's a solid one. The Rockets don't close out well on perimeter shooters, and Lundy's been getting his shots up early and often when he's on the floor. If you believe in shooting variance and are looking to stack this game, Lundy is your leverage off Buffkin and a path to GPP uniqueness. From a strategy standpoint, stacking this game makes a ton of sense. There's legitimate 200-plus point game potential here if both teams push tempo, and the salaries make it easy to double up. A core like Hudgens plus Buffkin plus Mayer allows you to get different without sacrificing ceiling. If you're playing cash, Buffkin is probably your anchor. If you're playing GPPs, pivoting off Buffkin to Mayer or Gay while using a value guard like Samuels Jr. or even a minimum price bench piece like Ryan Rupert, $4,100 could be the move. Just make sure you have some late game flexibility, as summer league rotations can be volatile and late scratches aren't uncommon. This game is going to go overlooked by casuals focusing on the late Lakers-Clippers showdown, but the edge here is real. Solidified usage, developing chemistry, and exploitable matchups make this one of the best DFS environments on the slate. Don't be afraid to go heavy here, especially in single-entry and mid-size field tournaments where raw points can separate you from the pack. Game 2 of Monday's Summer League slate brings us a gritty mid-evening matchup between the Chicago Bulls and Indiana Pacers, two teams packed with second-year projects, athletic rookies, and bubble guys hungry to prove they belong in the big league. This game doesn't have the hype of a Lakers headliner or the flash of a Thompson brother, but it might be one of the sneakiest DFS goldmines of the day. Both teams have played fast, leaned heavily on their young guards, and pushed for 28-plus minutes from their core guys. It's the kind of game that stays under the radar in casual builds but can explode in GPPs if approached with the right stack. Let's talk about the Chicago Bulls first. There's one name that should be front and center in your player pool: Javon Freeman Liberty. The Bulls are handing him the keys, and he's running wild with them. He's priced around $7,300 on DraftKings, which is hefty for a summer league guard, but he's earned it. In his last outing, he logged 30 minutes, dropped over 20 points, added a handful of boards and assists, and still looked like he had more in the tank. He's a 3-level scorer with excellent burst in transition, and he's getting volume, 15-plus shots per game and consistent trips to the free throw line. If you're playing cash games, Freeman Liberty is one of the safest floors on the slate. For tournaments, the only knock is potential ownership, but with plenty of value around him, you can get different elsewhere. Joining him in the Bulls' backcourt is Henri Drell, and this is a guy you should absolutely circle for GPPs. At just $5,800, Drell is the kind of lanky forward that fills stat lines without drawing much attention. He's averaging 7 rebounds per game, hitting the occasional 3, and quietly racking up stocks, steals and blocks, at a decent clip. He's not flashy, but in Summer League, that's exactly what you want from a mid-tier guy. Low usage but efficient, strong, peripheral production, and the chance to spike 30 DK points if the matchup goes his way. The Bulls also have intriguing value in the frontcourt. Rookie big man Adama Sanogo comes in around $5,200, and while he's not commanding a lot of touches, he's earning his minutes through energy and physicality. He's grabbing offensive boards, protecting the rim, and doing just enough scoring to stay relevant. If he logs 24-plus minutes, which he's been trending toward, you could easily see a 9-point, 9-rebound, 2-block game from him, and that's a near double-double with strong DK value. He's a solid plug-in for balanced builds. Now let's flip the page and look at the Indiana Pacers. This team has been headlined by Ben Shepherd, and he's one of the most exciting fantasy plays on the board. Priced at $7,000, Shepherd's been explosive on both ends, showing off range, driving ability, and a willingness to take over in crunch time. He's shooting well from deep, taking a ton of high-value shots, and he's been feasting on soft perimeter defenses like the Bulls have shown. If you're stacking this game, Shepherd and Freeman Liberty is a dynamic duo that brings 80-plus combined DK point potential. The question will be ownership and whether they cannibalize each other's usage if the game goes sideways, but in a close contest, both can smash. Indiana also gives us a great value option in Jarris Walker. Priced around $5,700, he's a high-upside forward who brings rebounding, shot blocking, and second-chance points to the table. He doesn't need to be the number 1 scoring option to be relevant. In fact, his last 2 games saw him rack up 8-plus rebounds and multiple blocks. He's a glue guy in DFS builds, not the piece you center around, but the one that makes stars like Shepherd and Freeman Liberty work under the cap. He's also great leverage against the inevitable ownership on Indiana's guards. If you're hunting a true GPP dart, Oscar Tshiebwe is your man. Priced at just $4,800, he's a double-double threat every time he steps on the floor. He's not guaranteed big minutes, but when he's out there, he's active, crashing the boards, setting hard screens, and gobbling up garbage buckets. If he gets extended run, he could easily drop 10 points and 12 rebounds with a block or two, which would be a slate-winning score at sub $5,000. This game sets up really well for DFS stacking. The Bulls run a fast tempo, the Pacers are athletic and attack early in the shot clock, and both teams play their top guys heavy minutes. There's enough usage concentration on both sides that it's viable to run a 3v2 stack, something like Freeman Liberty plus Drell plus Sanogo with Shepherd and Walker on the other side. That gives you exposure to nearly all of the meaningful fantasy production and leaves you cap space to mix in one or two other stars from later games. From a game theory standpoint, ownership will likely concentrate on Freeman Liberty and Shepherd, with Sanogo and Walker carrying moderate popularity. That makes Drell and Tshiebwe excellent leverage plays, both under 10% ownership in most contests, both capable of 6 to 7x returns. This is the kind of game that can win you a tournament if you choose the right pairings and differentiate smartly. Don't sleep on this game just because it's sandwiched between higher profile matchups. From a DFS perspective, it's one of the most condensed usage environments on the slate. Both teams have clear offensive engines, secondary scorers with upside, and cheap bigs who rack up the dirty stats. That's DFS gold if you're playing it right. The third game of the July 14th Summer League slate brings us a quiet but DFS-loaded matchup between the Charlotte Hornets and the Dallas Mavericks. On the surface, this might not be the sexiest game on the board, no flashy lottery picks, no coast-to-coast hype, but if you're locked into DraftKings contests, this game has some serious leverage potential. Both teams are short on proven stars but long on opportunity. That's the formula we look for in Summer League DFS. Minutes matter more than reputation. Usage matters more than jersey color. And both the Hornets and Mavs are giving their young guns the green light. We'll start with the Charlotte Hornets, who are leaning hard into their developmental pipeline. The first name to circle is Nick Smith Jr., and he should be near the top of your target list for this game. At around $7,000, he's the clear on-ball leader for the Hornets. He's playing 28 to 30 minutes per game, getting usage north of 30%, and flashing real scoring upside. He's had games with 20-plus points and a handful of assists, and he's doing it with decent efficiency. In a game where the Mavs have struggled to contain athletic guards, Smith could easily break this slate open. He's not cheap, and he may carry some ownership, but his role is too secure to ignore. Right behind him, we've got Bryce McGowens, who offers a perfect GPP pivot at a slightly lower price. He's around $6,100 and often goes overlooked because of Smith's on-ball dominance. But don't sleep on McGowens. He's a slasher who can get hot from three, and he rebounds well for a guard. If Smith struggles or if the Hornets stagger their lineups to keep a scorer on the floor at all times, McGowens is the one who benefits. He's got 30 DK point upside and will likely come in under 15% owned. That's tournament leverage right there. If you're looking for salary relief, Amari Bailey is a dart throw with sneaky upside. Priced around $4,700, he's a high-motor guard who's not afraid to shoot, and he's been playing with energy on both ends. He's not consistent, but in Summer League, variance is your friend, especially when you're punting a spot to pay up for a stud later on. Bailey has shown flashes of putting up 18 to 20 DK points in 20 minutes. That's enough to keep him in the conversation, particularly if the Hornets decide to give their veterans a breather. The Hornets' frontcourt is a bit murkier. James Nagy and Kobe Simmons are splitting minutes, and while both have moments, it's Nagy who intrigues more for fantasy purposes. At $5,100, he's a bruiser inside, and if he gets 22 to 24 minutes, he could flirt with a double-double. The problem is foul trouble and inconsistency. For GPPs, you can sprinkle him in. But in cash, the volatility makes him a tough sell. Now let's flip to the Dallas Mavericks. Their Summer League squad isn't stacked with elite talent, but they are playing hard, and more importantly, they're playing tight rotations. The guy who immediately stands out is Jordan "Jelly" Walker. At $6,800, he's got one of the highest usage rates on the slate. He's jacking up shots, pushing the pace, and running the offense. His efficiency isn't always there. We've seen 5 for 17 lines, but the volume is undeniable. He's taken 15-plus shots in each game and has added steals and assists to round out his fantasy profile. In tournaments, he's a volatile high-ceiling play. In cash, you might want to look for someone with a more stable shooting baseline. Another strong Mavs option is A.J. Lawson. He's coming in around $6,400 and has been the team's most consistent two-way contributor. He's active on defense, gets to the rim, and chips in across the board. What makes Lawson especially attractive is his ability to stuff peripheral stats. Even on nights where he scores just 10 to 12 points, he'll add 5 boards, a couple of steals, and maybe a block. That gives him a solid floor, and if he gets hot from deep, he can break 30 DK points easily. In the value range, don't ignore Mike Miles Jr. At $4,900, he's been coming off the bench but playing 18 to 22 minutes in high-paced second units. He's an efficient scorer with a nose for open space, and he's capable of putting up 15 DK points in a flash. He's not the safest play, but if you're punting a guard spot or stacking stars, he fits nicely. In a close game, he could also sneak into late-game run, which always boosts upside in summer league contests. The Mavs' bigs are more of a GPP gamble. Marcus Bingham Jr. has had some decent stretches but struggles with foul trouble. If you're desperate for a low-owned flyer at the center position, he's viable, but don't count on him in cash. The better move may be to just avoid the Mavs' frontcourt entirely unless late news opens up minutes. From a game flow perspective, this matchup could get interesting. The Hornets like to push pace with their guards, while the Mavs rely more on half-court creation through Jelly Walker. If this turns into a track meet, players like Smith, Bailey, and Lawson all get a bump. If it slows down, look for Dallas defensive wings to squeeze out a low-scoring grind. Either way, the usage is consolidated enough that stacking this game is viable. You could go Smith plus McGowans plus Bailey against Lawson plus Walker for a full game stack, or pick 2 from each side and mix in value from other games. Ownership won't be crazy here, which makes this a beautiful game to attack in GPPs. Most people will skip past this one looking for more recognizable names or bigger matchups. But those who dig deeper will see the upside. With secure minutes, high-usage guards, and value pieces at multiple positions, Hornets vs. Mavericks is exactly the kind of DFS opportunity that wins tournaments without needing to chase 50% owned chalk. Boston vs. Miami might not jump off the page as the marquee matchup of the night, but from a DFS perspective, it's absolutely packed with intrigue. This game features two teams that have shown commitment to playing their core summer league guys heavy minutes, while also running structured offenses with real flow, not the typical streetball chaos you sometimes get in these settings. That means higher assist totals, more predictable rotations, and a clearer path to identifying which players are going to hit value on DraftKings. This is the kind of game that rewards smart roster construction, high IQ plays rather than pure chalk. Starting with the Boston Celtics, the name at the top of your radar needs to be J.D. Davison. He's priced at around $7,100 on DK, and while that puts him among the more expensive guards on the slate, it's entirely justified. Davison is not only running the show offensively, he's shouldering a massive playmaking load. Through his first 2 summer league appearances, he's averaging over 8 assists per game and pushing the pace every chance he gets. What separates him from other guards on the slate is how well-rounded his fantasy output is. He gets points, yes, but he adds boards, steals, and big assist totals. If this game stays close, which it should, he's in line for 28-plus minutes and could easily clear 35 DK points. He's a strong candidate for both cash and GPP builds. Next up for Boston is Jordan Walsh, who presents some real upside at just $6,200. Walsh is a long, athletic forward who thrives in transition, crashes the boards, and has been given the green light from 3. In Boston's system, he's playing the 3-and-D role but with more creation opportunities than he saw during the regular season. He's been consistently active defensively, racking up stocks, steals and blocks, and that's gold in DraftKings scoring. Add in the fact that he's playing around 26 minutes per game and has the ability to post to the 3rd of August 15 line with multiple defensive stats. And he's one of the best mid-range GPP targets on the board. For value, you've got to take a look at Neemias Queta. He's sitting around $5,000, and while he's not a 30-minute player, his per-minute production is elite. Keita is a double-double machine in summer league settings. He controls the glass, protects the rim, and finishes lobs. He's averaging over 1.1 DK points per minute, and against Miami's undersized second unit, he could feast. The risk, of course, is foul trouble. He's been prone to overcommitting when defending smaller guards, but if he can stay on the court, 10 points, 10 boards, and 2 blocks is well within reach. He's a perfect center for balanced lineups when you don't want to pay all the way up. On the Heat side, there's no question who the alpha is. It's Nikola Jovic. Priced at $7,400, he's arguably one of the best pure scorers on the slate. He's shooting from all 3 levels, operating out of the post, and getting to the line frequently. Miami is treating this summer league like a development showcase for Jovic, and the numbers are bearing that out. He's logged back-to-back 30-plus DK point games, and he's doing it efficiently. The Celtics have struggled with rangy forwards who can stretch the floor, and Jovic fits that mold perfectly. He's expensive, but he's worth every dollar in GPPs, and you can even make the case for him in cash lineups given how steady his usage has been. Another strong play on the Miami side is Drew Smith. Sitting at $6,000, he's not as flashy as Jovic, but he might be more important from a roster construction standpoint. Smith is playing consistent minutes at point guard, getting decent assist totals, and he's shown he can score when needed. He's one of those guards who won't kill you with turnovers, and because he plays with pace and discipline, his fantasy production is extremely stable. In a game where Boston's backcourt defense isn't elite, Smith has a path to 28 to 30 DK points, and at that price, he's a great piece in balanced lineups. A sneaky GPP flyer for Miami is Jamal Cain. He's coming in at around $5,200 and plays more of a do-it-all forward role. He's not a high-usage guy, but he fills gaps, scoring off cuts, crashing the boards, picking up defensive stats. He's the type of player who can give you 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block without being the focal point of the offense. That's the kind of stat line that wins mid-sized tournaments if your stars do their job. From a matchup perspective, this game projects to be tightly contested with a moderate pace. Boston wants to get into their offense quickly but doesn't always push tempo, while Miami is happy to play through the post and force teams to defend late into the shot clock. That balance creates an ideal environment for high-floor guards and high-ceiling bigs, the types of players who can rack up peripherals even when the scoring is down. That makes guys like Davison, Keita, Smith, and Jovic prime targets. Stacking this game is absolutely in play, especially in single-entry tournaments. A core of Davison plus Walsh plus Keita on one side with Jovic plus Smith on the other gives you exposure to the most productive roles in the game without having to reach into thin rotations. Ownership will likely be moderate. These aren't viral names, so you're getting solid leverage without sacrificing upside. This game has sneaky shootout potential if Boston starts hitting threes and forces Miami to run with them. If that happens, we're looking at 200-plus combined real-life points, and the top 5 or 6 DFS scorers could all come from this matchup. Don't fade it just because it's not marquee. It's one of the sharpest DFS angles on the board. Game 5 of the night brings us one of the most intriguing matchups of the summer. League slate: Utah Jazz vs San Antonio Spurs. This is a high-leverage DFS game filled with underpriced studs, sneaky value, and rotation patterns that are starting to crystallize after 2 full summer league contests. Both teams have shown a willingness to give their high-potential young players 25 to 30 minutes, which immediately puts this matchup in the target zone for any serious DraftKings player. When minutes are locked in and usage is focused, that's when the edge is created, and that's what we have here. Starting with the Utah Jazz, the focus needs to be on Keyonte George, assuming he plays. He's questionable with a minor ankle tweak, and if he suits up, he's immediately one of the most fantasy-relevant guards on the slate. George is a scoring machine with strong command of the offense and solid assist upside. If he's active and priced around $7,600, he's still worth consideration even at high ownership. He's shown 35-plus DK point upside and has the green light from the perimeter. If he's out, it opens the door wide for Johnny Juzang, who becomes a priority play at $6,200. Juzang has been ultra-aggressive when George sits. taking 14 to 18 shots per game and shouldering heavy usage. Either way, you're getting exposure to one of the focal points of the Jazz offense. Utah also offers strong mid-tier options, particularly Taylor Hendricks, the athletic 6 feet 9 inches forward with NBA size and defensive tools. At $5,900, Hendricks has legitimate double-double potential. He rebounds well, has a decent outside stroke, and is quietly racking up stocks. That's steals and blocks, which juice his DK score. In a matchup against a Spurs team that has struggled to protect the rim, Hendricks becomes an excellent GPP target with 6 to 7x upside. He's not likely to be the highest-owned guy on the slate, making him perfect leverage in single-entry and mid-sized field tournaments. Another Jazz piece to monitor is Luka Šamanik. Yes, the former Spurs big man is now suiting up for the Jazz Summer League squad and could be looking for a bit of revenge. He's priced around $4,800 and has shown flashes of production, especially as a stretch 4 who can hit the occasional 3 and grab 7 or 8 boards. If you're punting at forward and want someone who could sneak into 24 minutes with a balanced stat line, Šamanik offers just enough to stay in the value conversation. Now flipping to the San Antonio Spurs, the biggest DFS storyline continues to be around Sita Sissoko. Priced in the $6,800 range, Sissoko is one of the most versatile players in the Summer League. He plays with energy, fills stat sheets, and attacks the rim like a seasoned vet. He's been logging major minutes, 28+ in each of the first 2 games, and putting up strong all-around numbers. The Jazz don't have elite perimeter defenders in their Summer League lineup, so Sissoko has the chance to go off. He's viable in all formats, but especially useful in GPPs where his usage spike in transition creates a ceiling that few can match in this mid-tier price range. Joining him as a top San Antonio target is Dominic Barlow, a highly efficient big who's quietly been one of the best DK point-per-minute players in the entire Summer League. At $6,400, Barlow's price still hasn't caught up with his production. He's averaging over 10 rebounds per game and showing a real touch around the rim. His hustle points, putbacks, transition dunks, tip-ins, are racking up quickly, and he's also a strong shot blocker. Against a Utah frontcourt that has struggled with physicality, Barlow could easily post a 12-12 double-double with 2 blocks and a steal. That's a tournament-winning performance if the rest of your lineup holds. For pure value, look at Jamaree Bouyea. At $5,200, he's not getting a ton of attention, but he's a solid second-unit guard who can explode when given the opportunity. He's had games with 5+ assists, a couple of steals, and a strong shooting percentage. If Utah decides to rest a few guys or if the Spurs extend minutes in a tight game, Bouyea becomes one of the slate's most overlooked 30 DK point threats. He's the definition of a GPP sleeper. In terms of game flow, this matchup leans toward moderate to high pace. Both teams have shown a willingness to run when the opportunity is there, and with young players pushing to make impressions, the effort level should be high. The Jazz want to push tempo through their guards, while San Antonio is more methodical, working through Sissoko's drives and Barlow's interior presence. That balance could result in a 180+ total, and when you're dealing with Summer League scoring, that's more than enough to support 4 to 5 solid DFS plays. Stacking this game is not only viable, it's encouraged, especially in multi-entry formats. Something like Juzang plus Hendricks plus Šamanik on one side with Sissoko plus Barlow plus Bouyea on the other gives you full exposure to a game that has both upside and overlooked value. This isn't going to be the highest-owned game of the slate, but it might be one of the sharpest edges if George sits and usage consolidates even further. Ownership will likely lean toward Barlow and Juzang if George is out, with Hendricks and Bouyea being excellent leverage pivots. That's the blueprint in Summer League DFS. Target the opportunity, monitor the rotations, and lean into the guys getting 25+ minutes with the ball in their hands. This matchup is rich with that exact profile, and the path to smashing value is wide open if you build your lineup the right way. Game 6 of this stacked Summer League slate features the Phoenix Suns taking on the Sacramento Kings in what could easily become one of the most overlooked fantasy-rich environments of the day. With both teams leaning into development-heavy rotations and deploying their starters for extended minutes, this is a game you'll want exposure to in both cash games and GPP formats. There's enough usage consolidation to pinpoint primary auctions, and just enough chaos in the second units to create real leverage if you choose the right dart throws. Let's start with the Phoenix Suns, who have come into this summer league with a clear plan to showcase their young core, and the centerpiece of that plan is Toumani Camara. The former Dayton standout is priced around $6,700 and has become the engine of this Suns unit. He's leading the team in usage, rebounding, and hustle stats, and his ability to contribute across all categories makes him one of the most bankable DFS plays on the slate. Camara has flashed 35 to 38 DK point upside with scoring in the teens, double-digit boards, and 3+ stocks in multiple games. He's also playing close to 30 minutes, which is gold in Summer League. If you're building balanced lineups, he should be one of the first players you lock in. Backing him up is guard Grant Sherfield, who's quietly become the backcourt floor general for Phoenix. At $6,100, he's a high-usage guard getting the majority of the pick-and-roll reps. He's aggressive off the dribble, isn't afraid to pull up from deep, and has solid assist rates. Sherfield's minutes are safe, generally 26 to 28, and his shooting volume makes him an ideal play for tournaments. In his last 2 outings, he's taken over 12 shots each game and added multiple assists and steals. Sacramento's perimeter defense has been leaky, especially against guards who can split traps and attack the middle. If he gets going early, Sherfield could be a slate breaker at low ownership. In the value tier, don't sleep on big man Trey Jemison. Priced at just $4,900, Jemison is a true rim protector who plays with high energy and no fear in the paint. He's been grabbing boards at a high clip, swatting shots, and even chipping in offensively off lobs and putbacks. With Sacramento lacking physical post defenders on their second unit, Jemison could quietly rack up 8 points, 10 rebounds, and a couple of blocks. He's not a flashy name, but he's producing close to 1.1 DK points per minute, and he's the kind of low-owned center that lets you jam in studs elsewhere. Now turning to the Sacramento Kings, the offensive centerpiece has been undrafted rookie guard Jordan Ford. Priced around $6,900, Ford has been the alpha ball handler, playing with poise, getting to his spots, and shooting with confidence. He's averaging over 15 field goal attempts per game and racking up assists at a steady clip. He's also getting a few steals per contest due to his active hands. What makes Ford a particularly strong DFS play is his control of the Kings' offense. He's rarely off the court when the game is close, and his shot volume is bankable. For cash games, he's one of the safer guards on the slate. For GPPs, his ceiling is tied to shooting efficiency, but if he's hot, he can hit 40 DK points. The Kings' secondary options start with Kessler Edwards, a 3-and-D wing with size and a surprising amount of self-creation ability. At $5,800, Edwards plays a high-minute role and contributes just enough in every category to make him viable across all contest types. His shooting can be streaky, but he's shown he's not afraid to let it fly. He also grabs boards and picks up sneaky blocks as a help defender. In a projected up-tempo game, he could flirt with a the 2nd of June 15 line plus a couple of defensive stats. He's an ideal last man in for balanced builds or as a GPP pivot off of Ford. If you're hunting for value, Neemias Queta becomes an intriguing dart throw, assuming he suits up. Priced around $5,200, Queta is a big-bodied center who has double-double potential in the right matchup. Phoenix doesn't have the bulk or strength down low to stop him if he gets consistent post touches. His problem has always been fouls and conditioning, but if he plays 20+ minutes, he has a realistic chance at 10 rebounds and 2 blocks. Monitor pregame reports, but he's a perfect tournament play at sub 10% ownership. One of the lesser discussed Kings options is Alex O'Connell, a low-usage wing who's started to see more minutes. At $4,400, he's not someone you build around, but he's a viable salary saver if you want to jam in studs like Camara or Ford. He's a good spot-up shooter, has a quick release, and can pick up a couple of boards or steals. You're not expecting a ceiling game, but a 16 to 18 DK point return at that price opens up roster flexibility that can win tournaments. From a macro perspective, this game is projected to be one of the more fantasy-friendly spots on the slate. Both Phoenix and Sacramento are playing fast, shooting early in the shot clock, and focusing their rotations around 7 to 8 core players each. That kind of predictability is rare in Summer League, and it gives you the opportunity to build tighter, higher floor lineups. The over-under projection should land near 185 to 190, and that's more than enough real-life points to support multiple DFS studs and value plays from each side. Stacking this game is very much in play, and doing it differently than the field is the key. While many will naturally stack Ford plus Kamara, try flipping the build to Sherfield plus Edwards plus Jemison for a low-owned combo with upside. That gives you access to 3 guys who can all smash their salary multipliers and frees up room for elite options from later games. Ownership will center around Kamara and Ford, which is fine, they're top plays for a reason. But Summer League DFS is often won by those who get ahead of the field on the secondary pieces. Jemison and O'Connell won't show up in many optimizers, but if they hit their 6x value markers, they can help you fly past chalk-heavy builds. This is a late-night hammer game that's worth attacking aggressively if you're chasing a payout or trying to jump the field in a multi-entry setup. The bright lights are on, the crowd will be thick, and the rivalry is real. Lakers vs Clippers to close out the Summer League Saturday slate. If you're still chasing green late into the night, this is the hammer spot. With 2 LA franchises going head-to-head, we've got name brand appeal, high-usage guards, developing wings, and centers scrapping for future roster spots. The rotations have stabilized enough through the first 2 Summer League games to give us confidence in player roles, and this game may have the most condensed usage of the entire day. That makes it a DFS dream, or nightmare, depending on how you build. Let's start with the Los Angeles Lakers, who are once again rolling with a tight core around Max Christie and Colin Castleton. Christie is priced at $7,500, and he's still very much the engine of this Summer League roster. He's leading the team in shot attempts, assist opportunities, and free throw trips. While he hasn't shot the lights out in every game, his usage remains elite, and the minutes are rock solid. He's logging close to 30 per night and playing through all situations, starters, second unit, crunch time. In any other Summer League game, this price might scare people off, but given the Lakers' clear strategy to run the offense through him, he's viable in all formats. If the efficiency ticks up, and against a porous Clippers perimeter defense, it might, you're looking at 40+ DK point upside. Next is Castleton, the Lakers' big man and Summer League double-double machine. At $6,800, he offers some of the best per-minute production on the slate. Castleton has been averaging 1.25 DK points per minute with a mix of post-scoring, high pick-and-roll finishes, and elite rebounding. He also gets you blocks and the occasional assist from short rolls. He's one of the rare Summer League centers you can trust for a full workload, and with the Clippers running smaller lineups in their second unit, Castleton should feast inside. He's cash game gold and a GPP core piece if you're building a late-game stack. The wildcard for the Lakers is Demoy Hodge. Priced around $5,500, Hodge is a low-usage shooting guard with streaky upside. He's not going to get you there with peripherals, but when he gets hot from deep, he can blow up quickly. He's had games with 4 to 5 made threes, and the confidence is there. He's not a core play, but he's a GPP dart if you're stacking this game and looking for ceiling at low ownership. Now let's shift to the LA Clippers. The story here has been Xavier Moon. If you haven't been watching closely, Moon is a walking bucket with command of the offense and a killer mid-range game. He's priced at $7,200 and has logged 27+ minutes in back-to-back games. The offense runs through him in the half court, and he's been delivering, scoring 15 to 18 points per game with a healthy dose of assists and some sneaky rebounds. He's also a veteran among younger players, and his decision-making stands out. Against a Lakers defense that sometimes overcommits on closeouts, Moon could thrive in the mid-range and draw fouls at the elbow. He's absolutely viable as your primary PG spend in any format. Joining Moon in the backcourt is rookie Cam Christie, Max's younger brother, and while the storyline is juicy, the production hasn't fully caught up. At $4,600, he's cheap enough to consider as a punt, but his minutes are fluctuating, and the usage isn't ideal. He's a GPP-only play, and mostly as a way to get leverage off the Max Christie chalk in a narrative-heavy game. Where the Clippers do offer real value is in Kobe Brown, a versatile forward priced at $6,200 who plays bigger than his listed height. He's aggressive on the glass, plays through contact, and has been hitting open shots consistently. Brown is getting around 26 minutes a game and is one of the few Clippers who doesn't rely on others to get his shots. He's self-creating from the mid-post, running pick and rolls, and even initiating in transition. He's the kind of mid-tier gem that wins single-entry tournaments when the expensive studs flop. He'll likely be under-owned in this game due to name recognition, which makes him all the more appealing. Don't forget about Moussa Diabaté, who's back for another summer league run with the Clippers and still showing signs of being a beast on the glass. At $5,900, Diabaté is a risk. Foul trouble has plagued him, but the per-minute upside is real. He's a high-energy guy who can rack up 3 to 4 offensive rebounds and give you 2+ blocks in a heartbeat. If you're fading Castleton, Diabaté is a viable pivot at lower ownership with similar upside and a cheaper tag. The best way to play this game might be through stacks. A 3v2 or even a 4v2 stack makes sense in large field GPPs. For example, Castleton plus Max Christie plus Hodge on one side, with Moon plus Kobe Brown on the other. That stack gives you exposure to nearly all of the usage in the game and doesn't break your salary cap if you combine it with value from the earlier games. If you're behind late in your contest and need leverage, fading Max Christie and going Castleton plus Hodge plus Diabaté plus Moon is an alternate route that could fly under the radar. Game environment-wise, this one is volatile. The pace is high, the defensive effort is inconsistent, and there are multiple shot creators on both sides. That's a perfect recipe for DFS fireworks. Expect a combined total of 185+ points and several players hitting 30+ DK points. You'll want exposure here, and if you're playing multiple lineups, you might even want to anchor your entire build strategy around the final hammer of the night. If you're chasing green screens and looking to dominate your DFS slate, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to Beyond the Box Score, and turn on notifications so you never miss a winning edge. Drop your top pick in the comments. Let's cook up the ultimate lineup together.